So every day I send out the maximum amount of actions that LinkedIn allows, which is about 20 connection requests and between 20 and 40 direct messages. And I'm not sitting here typing all of these messages and clicking send on all of these connection requests. I actually trigger it all using a slash command in Claude Code. And the beauty of using slash commands is that it doesn't feel like automated outreach at scale. It uses what AI is good at, which is templatizing, following instructions, following workflows with guardrails, and using me for what I'm best at, which is auditing its progress, checking to make sure messages feel customized, they sound human, they've done good research, and I'm able to do all of this in about 10 minutes of work every day. So in this video, I'm going to show you the anatomy of how this thing works inside and out. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to build something like this yourself, and I'm going to share a full blueprint that you can use as a starting point in the description below. So let's get into it. So this entire system runs on two distinct workflows. So the first one runs completely autonomously while I sleep. My computer doesn't even need to be on. It uses the Sales Navigator API to find new leads that match my ICP. It segments them, it adds them to my database, and then it sends them a connection request after liking one of their posts. That one doesn't really need my oversight. It's not generating any messaging, so I just have that one run before I'm even at my desk every morning. The second one runs manually by me typing /outreach, and then it follows a workflow that pulls any leads that have accepted my connections, anyone from my existing network that I have not reached out to in a while that matches my ICP. It pulls all of those folks together. It drafts a customized message to each of them, and then it surfaces the messages for my review, and then I send in bulk. And I have Claude actually send them at a human-like frequency. So every 30 seconds, give or take a few seconds, at random intervals, it will send a new message. And that helps us to avoid the LinkedIn bot detection, which is robust. And the magic of this system is how it's organized. So tracking an outreach can be a real nightmare. It's hard to remember who you've touched in the past, who's accepted your connection requests, who's due for a follow-up, who's due for a nudge. All of that's just tracked in the system. And the way that Claude does that is by dividing my leads into three pools. Pool A is newly accepted connections. Pool B are existing network connections who I have not reached out to in a while, who match my ICP. And then pool 3 is anybody who I have reached out to, but it's been a few days, so they're due for a follow-up. And it segments them even further by dividing them into subcategories. So I mostly focus on institutional investors. That's a wide category that encapsulates independent sponsors, brokers, private equity folks, institutional investors, real estate investors, and I want to make sure I focus a little bit differently. I reframe my offer a little bit for each of those. So I have templates associated with each one, and because Claude has been diligent in segmenting each one, it knows which template to use for each lead, how to frame my offer slightly differently for each segment of lead. And all of this is just tracked with the magic of Supabase. Supabase plus Claude just equals magic, because now Claude has the ability to keep track of what it's doing, to reference past actions. Claude has much more autonomy when you add Supabase into the mix. The second part of this whole system is research. So we're using a series of web scraping actions to pull up robust information on each of these leads before crafting our message. So first line is customized hook. The rest of the message is template. And that allows us to really create guardrails around agents so they're not trying to write messages from scratch, yet also have each message feel targeted and customized and respectful to the specific person that we're reaching out to. And the third magical component of this system that allows it to not feel like spam, but to feel more human and customized yet scalable is the human in the loop approval. So whenever I run this action, Claude knows to do all of this research, to pull all the leads who are due for a message, to do all of that work autonomously, but then before sending anything, it surfaces all the messages for my approval. And what that allows me to do is really fact check AI. If it's referencing things, if it's doing research on posts or whatever, make sure it's talking about real things, make sure it's reaching out to the right thing. It's not messing up my template. It's not getting the person's industry wrong, whatever it is, that human in the loop approval is critical. But what that allows me to do is, again, spend about 10 minutes doing this versus 2 hours, which is what it might take to actually reach out to 20 people on LinkedIn with a targeted and customized message. So I'm really just using it as a lever. I'm not sacrificing my unique human intelligence to AI because I truly don't trust it to just write messages on its own. And then what gets written to Supabase? That is the critical part. That's the part that kind of took the most time in configuring this, because tracking your outreach can be a bit of a nightmare. So having a Supabase schema that's set up for Claude to track each action that it's doing, what templates it used, how it reached out to this person, what was the timestamp, and then tracking who needs a follow-up action, who responded negatively and should be put on our DNC list. All of that would not be able to happen with typical Claude or typical Claude chat, because all of those messages are ephemeral. They disappear immediately, whereas Supabase makes them persistent and easy to access by Claude. So how do you actually set this thing up? Well, I'm going to provide templates below that make it super easy, but just to give you the high level overview, it's very simple. 3 different files, markdown files, which are how we encapsulate Claude skills, encapsulate slash commands. All of that are just information for Claude. The rest is on our connector layer. So it runs on 2 different connectors, and I'll show you how to set up each of them. So on the skill side, the prospect skill is that one that I told you runs autonomously every morning. And that one is basically just a workflow. So prerequisites, read these files first, call the AI West Unipile, get profiles, and essentially qualify the lead. And basically before, it has a bunch of safety guardrails attached. So pull all of my first degree connections for every row where connection status is pending, and basically just giving it robust information as to how to prospect. And once they are qualified, it is giving Claude instructions on how to use the proper Unipile endpoint to send a connection request and to like a post, making them more likely to accept my connection request. So basically that's that workflow in detail. The context layer is the static information about my business. So who we target, what my offer is, what some of my templates are, sequence timing, all the things that are not going to change from lead to lead. It's just the context layer, and giving Claude a context layer is magic for not having to redo work over and over again and re-prompt over and over again, things that never change. And then finally, the skill file, which is how Claude actually executes the workflow. So what the slash command is referencing is a skill called outreach. And basically, this is the skill format that is typical. It's telling Claude, here are the tools that you have access to that are available. Here is how to use those tools. And then here is the step-by-step action workflow that you'll follow every time I invoke this slash command. And all of these files live in a little folder that was created by Claude, that Claude knows where it is, knows how to access it, and knows how to use it. And so you can see the different MDs. It knows when to use these different markdown files. And then it has all my templates by demographic already mapped out. And it knows by reading the markdown files when to use each template. So those are the files associated with this slash command. If we're thinking about the actual connectors we're using, Supabase is the most important one, as I mentioned. And this is an entire schema of information that Claude has configured for me in Supabase using the Supabase MCP that I use to track every aspect of my business. So I don't just track outreach in here. I track my content calendar, my existing clients, basically everything. But I also use it for this outreach slash command. And you can see it's just built a robust data set of tables that are all connected together. And if we actually go into one of these tables, you can see this is my outreach lead tracker, and it's just a spreadsheet. It's a table with a bunch of columns, each of which have an ID, a LinkedIn URL, and this is what the prospector is building us. So every day it's grabbing 20 new leads, sending them a connection request, putting them in this database, and making sure to segment them. So PE firm, not a fit, other investor, all of the results of that prospector agent are here in this database so that my outreach slash command can use it at any time. And setting up the Supabase MCP is quite simple. You just go to your Claude chat window, you click connectors, you click add connector, and then you just type Supabase. And once you click on that, it's going to prompt you to auth into your Supabase account, and you'll have Supabase connected to Claude forever, and you can build databases to your heart's content. The other connector we're using here is Unipile, which is our intermediary to get access to the LinkedIn API. And that one's a little more of a complex setup, but nothing crazy. Basically, you're going to set up a Unipile account, you're going to grab your API key, and then you're going to paste this JSON blob into your desktop config for Claude. And you can even have Claude do this for you. It can edit files on your computer and set up MCP files for you. And an MCP file is just one of these JSON blobs. And this is the very typical format. And you'll paste your Unipile API key right here in where it says your token here. That's literally it. After that, you restart Claude Desktop and you're connected to Unipile, and you can perform any Unipile action, which is basically any action that can be performed on LinkedIn. And that's basically the whole system. So to summarize, we talked about how our entire LinkedIn strategy can be encapsulated in 2 slash commands. One to send out connection requests and qualify new leads, the other to actually research and create direct messages that get surfaced for your approval. I showed you how to build out the files that drive this workflow, as well as set up the connectors that it needs to run. And we talked about the magic of connecting Supabase to Claude to get that persistent layer of record so that you know every action that's being performed by your agents and when. So if you're interested in building something like this for yourself, go ahead and grab my 3-pool blueprint that I'm sharing below, which will guide you through the entire process that we discussed today. If you're interested in having somebody come in and actually help you build this, that is of course what I do for a living, so you're welcome to schedule a free strategy session using the link below. But until then, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe if you're interested in getting more free content like this, and I will see you in the next video.